Ooh, excuse me. Uncompetitive. How are you, good sir? I believe it is about what is it about 1:30 over in the UK? Shouldn't you be asleep? So let's get on with the intros. Yo yo yo, what is good, everyone? It is the Godfather of VR, the ageless wonder, the man Lincoln Clay, coming back at you with a very quick and hopefully very short stream. How's everybody doing? It is 8:38 here on the East Coast or Eastern Time. Gaming Legends, how are you? And hmm, you said you slept all day uncompetitive, and your day is all around the wrong way. Okay, all right. I mean, I used to live for the weekends. That was one of the highlights of my weekend, being able to stay up as late as possible. Whenever I don't have to work on the weekend, I still feel like that. I'm always, looking forward to being able to stay up and play games as late as I want. But I usually end up falling asleep at about 10 or 11 o'clock and don't get up till about 6 the next morning. So it's almost like I might as well have gone to work. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get straight to the subject. I just got done watching Sony's CES, or at least their presentation, and I can fix it by breaking my sleep into 2 4-hour blocks. That's kind of what happens to me a lot. I've always put it this way: I sleep a lot, but I don't get a lot of sleep. So I sleep a lot in those intervals, like you're talking about, intervals, increments, however you want to put it. Uh, but I don't get a lot of sleep in terms of how many hours I sleep. So yeah, crazy way of saying it, but yes, I sleep a lot, but I don't get a lot of sleep. So again, Sony did their presentation for CES, and in that CES, they revealed that they sold the PlayStation VR has sold over 5 million units. I think the exact number that they might have showed was like 5.06 million. So if that was the case, I'm led to believe that Sony had already broke 5 million VR headsets sold before 2019, which was one of my predictions that they would break 5 million by the end of 2019. So yes, I'm patting myself on the back for making that prediction that Sony would sell 5 million VR headsets by the end of um, 2019. And I can't remember which one of my podcasts that I did it, but I think I might have even made a prediction that they would sell 6 million headsets by the end of 2020. Gaming Legends. Hi, Lincoln. Got interested in the camera tech they showed and 3D tech in the Sony card, looking good for PSVR 2. Um, Thanks, Uncompetitive. Uh, I think as far as Sony's presentation goes, the only thing that caught me by surprise is that they revealed that they sold over 5 million PSVR headsets. I thought that was something that they would have tweeted out or mentioned it in their last state of play or something. But they choose CES to make that revelation. I find that a little bit puzzling, but again, I still feel that I was correct in my prediction that they would sell over 5 million headsets over by the end of 2019. Now, the reason why I feel the need to have this podcast to talk about it is because it could have happened a lot sooner and they could have sold more if it wasn't for several factors. One is the price of the PlayStation VR headset. This one that you're looking at right now is the bundle. This was the $500 bundle that came with the headset, the camera, and the two move controllers that you see. There was also the other bundle, which included just the headset and the camera, which that one started at $400. H player, how about that eye tracking tech? I didn't even see that, but I'm not surprised by it because there was rumors floating around that the next PSVR headset could have eye tracking technology, and I guess this eye tracking technology would increase the resolution where you are focused at what you are looking at, and everything else in the background. The resolution would be lowered in order to maintain, maintain the frame rates. Um, let's see here. You said it implies a renewed commitment to VR. I never doubt that their commitment to VR wavered because Sony had to know, especially in another one of the factors as to why they didn't sell more PSVR units and why they didn't sell 5 million sooner is marketing. I thought Sony did a poor job of marketing the PlayStation VR. When you stop and think about it, Sony has a lot of products that they just did not market. I think the PlayStation Vita being one of them. I think if they would have marketed it, they would have sold more than what they did, and there would probably still be support for the PlayStation Vita. Now, I do have a PlayStation Vita. I was a little bit reluctant to buy it when I bought it because of the price, because it retailed for $200, which I thought that was a little bit steep for a handheld at the time. I thought $150 sounded more like a sweet spot to me. Sam Ash, all the idiot fanboys in media were idiots to believe they would announce actual PS5 news. I didn't expect them to reveal the PS5, to tell you the truth. The one thing that I did predict that I think probably did materialize, I think the only reason why we might have even gotten PlayStation news from them was because of the reveal of the Xbox Series X. I kind of let someone corner me, and I kind of backtracked on something that I originally said. I originally said that I felt like the revelation of the Xbox Series X was going to put a little bit of pressure on Sony to give us a little bit of information about the PS5. Because now that the chess match starts. Because I feel like Sony responded by letting us know that the PS5 is coming and letting us know some of the technology that's going to be in the PS5. But I felt like revealing the PS5 logo was a slap in the face. Why'd you even bother doing that? It was like, I'm proud to announce the PS5 logo. It was like, as soon as he said I'm proud to announce, I'm sure everybody was like this, waiting to see if they're going to reveal the console. No, I think Sony is going to wait until one of their own events so they can do it on their own stage. Like back at the Game Awards, I think Microsoft threw everybody a curveball with the Xbox Series X revelation, because I don't know if that was supposed to be originally scheduled. I understand that part of the feature there was supposed to be dates for Ghost of Tsushima and maybe a little bit more gameplay from Ghost of Tsushima. And I think Microsoft came in and stole the show by revealing the Xbox Series X. And I'm wondering if that's one of the things that prompted Sony to throw Godfall in there. I'm wondering if that was a last second decision. I don't know, but I still think that Microsoft shook that Game Awards up with the Xbox Series X reveal. That I'm not saying that means they're going to win the generation, but I think that reveal, kind of shook up the industry a little bit. Gaming Legends, you said tracking tech in the camera and software could be more accurate hand tracking, which I don't doubt. Sony's put out a ton of patents relative to the next generation PlayStation VR. One of the patents that I saw was what looks like a bracelet that goes around your wrist that could be a possible PlayStation VR controller. And this bracelet that goes around your wrist has cameras in it, which appears to be that might be their version of hand tracking. So, Dan Hardstaff, thank you very much for the subscription. I think that's actually only the second time I've seen that notification come up during one of my podcasts. Thank you very much for the subscription. I really appreciate it. Um, what else? Let me see what else we're talking about here. Uncompetitive. It would be worrying if Sony didn't mention the PSVR sales milestone the year before the PS5. There was no doubt in my mind that they were going to hit 5 million. So actually, that brings me back to the reason why I'm having this podcast in the first place. They would have gotten to 5 million sooner, and they would have sold more PSVR headset if it wasn't for several factors. One is, I believe, the price. $500 for this bundle that you're looking at, right above my head right now. $500 for that bundle. Even though it was the cheapest of the major headsets at the time, it was still 500. It was still $500. Dan Harstaff, great to be here. Appreciate you jumping in, and as I said that even though it was the cheapest of the three major headset, it was still $500 with the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift CV1 costing $700 and $600 respectively. Now, the $500 price tag, I didn't think it was ridiculous when it came out, but I still thought it was a little bit pricey for peripheral to cost more than your base console. To me, it almost felt like it should have been the other way around. With the PlayStation Pro costing $400, it seemed to me like I think the PSVR would have gotten off to a better start at a price point of $300. I mean, that's kind of a tough sell when you already dropped $400 for a PlayStation Pro, because I already think that was going to be a tough sell in itself, because they really didn't market that. They really didn't market that console. Microsoft, it wasn't necessarily through TV, but they marketed the shit out of the Xbox One X. But I still think that was a tough sell for the console to be $400 and then this headset to be $500. I think if they would have priced this, the PlayStation Pro, if they would have priced that at $400, which I was fine with that, I think if they would have sold the PlayStation VR, this bundle that you're looking at here, at $300, it would have gotten off to a much better start. Not only that, another factor why they're just now getting 5 million units sold is when it released. The PlayStation 4 launched in November of 2013. The PlayStation VR came out in October of 2016. That's a 3-year gap. So they would have hit 5 million a long time ago if this headset would have launched shortly after the PS4. Gamertag, and he's back. What is going on, my guy? How are you? And Sam Ash, the fridge being announced at VGA didn't excite me in the least. Okay, it's actually crazy that Sony hasn't really done many permanent price drops on their hardware. That's another thing about Sony. They are some hard asses when it comes to dropping prices on their products, especially when they lead the market. I already knew that when the PS4 was beating the brakes off of the Xbox, that it was going to be quite a while before we saw any kind of price drop from that console. But it's hard for me to knock them because I felt the console was worth it, and they had amazing exclusives to back it up, so I didn't have a problem with that. Not enough competition for Sony to do price drops, exactly. I mean, we'll see, what's going to happen next generation. That's a story for another day, something that I really don't want to get into, because that's something that could take me in a whole nother direction, and I might not come back to what we're talking about for another half an hour. I think another thing that factored in the slow burn of the PSVR is how many times it went on sale. I think once they started having these sales, when the PlayStation VR was going down to like this particular bundle right here, the cheapest it's ever been was $250, which I thought was magnificent. Because every time the PlayStation VR went on sale at this price point, they moved them. They were moving these things off the shelf. So that tells me right there that the interest in VR was there, but the price of this thing was kind of steep. So with that being said, right now, this bundle that we're looking at right now for the PlayStation VR, it does retail for $350. and without the Move controllers, it retails, I believe, for 300. When it goes on sale again, and it goes down to 250 and 200 respectively, when these things are on sale, they move them. With that being said, at this point in the generation, I don't think it's too much to ask for Sony to cut the price of the PlayStation VR another $50 on both units, but still sell it for 250 or 200 whenever they decide to go on sale. If they were able to do something like that, then there's no doubt in my mind that they could hit 6 million units sold by the end of 2020. So there you have it. Robert McLeod, what's up? Like I always say, old guy in the house. Hey, you an old guy too, my man. But how you doing? Sony then pulling in Nintendo with the like prices of their PS4 right now. Shit, they was doing it with the PSVR. So Sony had to know that with this thing costing $500 and them waiting quite a while to drop the price of the PSVR, they had to know this thing was going to sell at a slow burn. Now, it didn't take them long, in my opinion, to drop the price of the PS3 because of the disastrous launch that it had and the way Xbox was kicking their ass to start off the generation. They had to make some moves. They had to revamp the console before they knocked the price down. But when they knocked the price down, they made it affordable. So, and that's another thing. They're the only VR headset, true VR headset, as far as I'm concerned, it's on the console. Because I don't consider the Labo a true VR headset. That's some cardboards with a couple of lenses. As far as I'm concerned, I don't consider that real VR. Excuse me. With that being said, if Microsoft would have gotten into this VR game and if they would have manufactured their own headset and had their own exclusives and created competition in the VR space for Sony, then yeah, we might be looking at a totally different scenario here. But they were the only ones there, so they were marching to the beat of their own drum. They dropped the prices when they felt like it, regardless of how slow this thing was selling. But the crazy part about it is, I think Code Yogurt 3 streams today. Yeah, and I was thinking about doing a Jay Wags, what is up, my guy? Man, I ain't seen you in forever. Hey, everybody, big shout out to Jay Wags. This is definitely one of my favorite YouTubers. He hasn't put out content in a while, but goddamn, he's one of my favorite YouTubers. I would like to think that his videos are still up. Go back and check his content out. Very creative with his content and very, very hilarious. Jay Wags, you got to come back, my guy, man. We miss you. So, let me grab a drink here and get back to excuse me. I think another reason why Sony was holding firm on the price of the PlayStation VR is because, in addition to the Oculus CV1 and the HTC Vive costing $600 and $700 respectively, first reported numbers that was coming from the PlayStation VR, they still sold more than both of those headsets combined in their first 10 months. I think the first 10 months of the PlayStation VR existence, they had reported selling 750,000 units, which I thought was impressive for a headset that was costing $500. I thought those were impressive numbers, but the media tried to shoot it down and was talking about, using a myriad of reasons of why this is going to fail. The motion sickness, the price, the market's not healthy enough for VR right now. People are not interested in them. So the media, fuck you, wanting me VR to die, fuck you. Don't try to jump on this bandwagon with us now. Well, our community don't need you. We grew without the media's help. And Jay Wags, you said people still sleeping on VR, my guy. I've talked about the VR as a whole. Work jail, same thing. In Cold Yogurt, they revealed the PS5 logo. I think that was a slap in the face. I don't even know why they even did that shit. They could have just told us what it. All they really did is, other than showing us the PS5 logo, all they really did was repeat what Mark Cerny had already revealed to us. So the PS5 portion of this was basically a waste of time and a slap in the face. To me, the only highlight of this CES for Sony was the revelation of 5 million PSVR sold. PSVR is a gimmick. X equals Xbox owners. Mr. Righteous Fish. J-Wags got caught up selling bootleg Xbox. I'm telling you, one of J-Wags' funniest videos ever was, I think, when they did an Inside Xbox and they revealed, some Sea of Thieves bullshit. And he took his Xbox, walked outside, and dropped it in a garbage can. That was one of the funniest videos I had ever seen. So again, go check his content out. You gotta check out J-Wags. It is absolutely hilarious. J-Wags, I gotta follow up gamer tag on that one. I think Iron Man in VR is gonna be fire. The one thing that I haven't tried it yet, but I think, in addition to being a great game, I think there's probably going to be a learning curve to Iron Man VR where you're going to have to learn to fly. And I think once you learn to fly, I don't think it's going to be a situation to just put your hands out and start flying. You're going to have to learn I'm thinking you're going to have to learn how to steer yourself in flight. So I think once people get that mastered, it's going to be very rewarding. You said rail shooter. I don't know. It looks pretty bad. Rail shooters isn't a bad thing. Take Blood and Truth, for instance, one of the best games I ever played in VR, and that's a rail shooter. So, but hey, I'm taking a leap of faith. Iron Man VR is a day one purchase for me. The only thing is, I just hope that Valve gives me enough time with the launch of Half-Life Alyx. I just hope they give me a big enough window to finish Iron Man VR. Because I haven't been very good at that lately. Moon Snipes, what's up? How you doing? Sam Ash been saying they would do the PS5 reveal during their own event like they did with PS4. I don't know why people think otherwise. Yeah, definitely. So you said y'all just remember I said what I said. I mean I think I wouldn't be surprised if casual gamers give Iron Man a try and they're not exactly thrilled with it, but I think hardcore VR people like me, I think, going to love it. So right now, I have high hopes and high expectations for Iron Man VR, and I think if Sony times it just right, and they would have put the PlayStation VR on sale around the time that Iron Man comes out, I think they can move a few units, because I don't think that game alone is going to be enough to move some units. I think they're going to have to put it on sale. So same with Insomniac. Spider-Man had to learn that swing. And Gamertag is saying Iron Man VR is much better than I thought. I remember thinking it was a cash in on the rails. Then I played it. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm gonna DM you, Clay, when that drops. All right, I'll be looking forward to it. And I don't think you're gonna get me to say that the game is trash, because I don't think it will be trash. I only have hey, the other Lincoln. What's up, Shats? What's going on? What's good? What's up, Shats? How you doing? Honestly, the only thing that concerns me about Iron Man VR is that I hope there's no background blur. Over the years, a lot of games have gotten better about that, about the background blur of the PlayStation VR. But there's still a couple of games that slipped through the cracks and had a good amount. Disagree. Iron Man VR will sell headsets and will be bundles. I do definitely believe that Sony will launch an Iron Man VR bundle. And in that aspect, yes, I think it will sell a few units. But I mean, to have the kind of impact that I would like to see, I think they're gonna have to put it on sale. Jay Wags, you said you like Bravo Team, So you like Fate? You're like the Fatal Mephisto of VR, possibly. And there was oh, I still love Creed. Creed is a great game. You said and you enjoy Creed. I love Creed. Hell, do you know that that Creed stream I did where me and Diver went at it and we had all that trash talking going on? That's sitting on over 500 views. So I think that's not bad. The biggest reason why I stopped playing Creed is because I was having a hard time finding matches. Despite that, I'm strongly considering buying Creed for the Oculus Quest because the Quest is on fire right now. You know, any game that's on the Quest that's multiplayer, you don't have a problem finding people to play with. They are there. And because of that, I'm considering buying Creed for the Oculus Quest, and then the freedom of no wires. You know, I could beat somebody's ass and don't have to worry about that wire hanging over my head. So, you said, why can't they make different colored PlayStation VR? Yeah. I guess it would be cool if they did it, but it wouldn't factor in me jumping up and buying one. But Jay Wags, back to this Bravo Team thing. Yes, I did like Bravo Team. Now, I did finish the game. After finishing the game, I only had two problems with the game. One was enemies spawning right behind you. You could be in the middle of a firefight, and all of a sudden, your screen starts flashing red, meaning that you're getting shot. And you're like, where the hell is that coming from? The game was broken in the sense that enemies were spawning right behind you. That's one problem. That's one problem I had with it. Code Yogurt, J Wags does have a PlayStation VR. I have seen him stream. Resident Evil in VR, so he does have one. You said I'm waiting on some legit full VR experiences. Full games. Resident Evil 7 is amazing. Skyrim VR is amazing. Which I never got a chance to finish saying, Jay Wags. I consider the PlayStation VR a planet, and if you were to get on board with PC VR, if you got a gaming PC and you were to get like a Oculus Rift S, that's an entire solar system. It's going to open up a whole new world. So, in that aspect, I would tell you do not base your complete VR experience solely on the PlayStation VR. There's way more games out there on PC VR, and there's some experiences out there that you just can't get on PlayStation VR. So, please excuse me. And the other problem, Jay Wags, that I had with Bravo Team is that I didn't have a problem with the flanking system where where you click and point where you want to advance to. I had two problems with when you advance. One is you go into full body mode, so it looked weird, and your character looked like it was 8 feet tall, so that was weird. And then the other thing about the advancement system is while you were advancing from one point to another, you could still take bullets while you're advancing, whereas Blood and Truth, they allowed you to shoot back while you were advancing, and you remained in first-person view. So, other than that, I don't think Bravo Team was a bad game. And you also have to keep in mind that I felt like Bravo Team was the first VR first-person shooter. I thought it was going to be the first-person shooter that I was looking for. You know, I consider Farpoint the first true first-person shooter because that's the one game that the first game that took advantage of the aim controller. But I thought Bravo Team was the first military first-person shooter in VR on the PlayStation VR, and I thought the game had a lot of potential. It was also a situation where I thought I had hoped somewhere down the line that they would add a multiplayer to the Bravo Team. And if they were to do something like that, if they were to add a multiplayer to that game and tweak some of the games, I think it's a game that they could bring back to life. But it's done. You know, Sony kind of kicked them to the curb. and I think Sony's done with them. Cold yogurt. The thing I don't want, big games. I mean, No Man's Sky is too much game. It is. I'll never finish No Man's Sky. That game seems endless. And but I still want those kind of games out there because I want people to have a choice. I want them to have a choice of whether they want to play indie games or big budget AAA games. So I think that's a good thing. Jay Wags, I played everything. In my perfect world, every game that releases first party or third has the same formula as Resident Evil 7, playable the same way in VR or not. Yeah, I think I thought that was a good thing in the beginning, but now I disagree with it because take the Half-Life Alyx, for instance, is coming up. I think if they were allowed that game to be flat screen, it would affect VR sales because Half-Life Alyx is going to be a headset seller. People are going to run out and get headsets just to play this game. And I, for one, am glad that the only way you can experience Half-Life Alyx is you must have a VR headset. I'm here for the growth of VR, not for the option of a huge game giving people an option to avoid VR. No, if we have a game that you want to play, get a headset and get in there. So, with that being said, Resident Evil was a good thing, I think, to to kind of get people to dip their toes in the water as far as VR goes. But now VR has grown and we are far enough along in VR that I do not want games, what? Okay, let me put it this way. I guess I got to take that back to a degree. What I don't want is a game that was built from ground up for VR and then eventually it releases flat screen. There are exceptions to the rule where I would like to see, like take Madden for instance. I have talked about wanting to see Madden fully playable in VR. Now, I would like that option. I would like that option of being able to play flat screen or VR. But if they were to do something like that, I don't want to be in VR playing against somebody that's playing flat screen. I want to play against somebody that's in VR. So if I get pressure on that damn quarterback, he's going to have to move, he's going to have to make some kind of movement himself to get out to evade the defensive lineman that's coming at him. So in that situation, something like that might be an exception to the rule. But other than that, no, I don't want that situation. Half-Life Alyx makes me feel like there could be a Half-Life 3 coming, and that might be flat screen. That might be something that's for them. But Half-Life Alyx is for us. If you want to play it, you must get a VR headset. That's the end of it. I hope Valve doesn't do any shit where they cave in and make a flat screen version of the game because they did that with the Persistence. They made a flat screen version of that game. I'm not sure if Ubisoft made a flat screen of Space Junkies or not, but that doesn't set in well with me. Ubisoft put themselves in a position, Ubisoft shot themselves in the foot with the situation of Space Junkies. Space Junkies is actually a great game, but that $40 price point when the game first came out was just too much, and it's kind of fucked up how they abandoned the game. So I think that the way Ubisoft handled Space Junkies, I think was a slap in the face to the first wave of people who paid the $40 for the game. The game should have been $20 right from the get-go, and I think it would have had a much bigger user base to start off with, and they could still be supporting this game by adding maps. But, that's the greed of Ubisoft. Ubisoft can be mentioned in the same breath as EA and Activision when it comes to greed. They try to spread their greed over to the VR format. They should have kept their greed over on the flat screen format with the shit they were doing with Rainbow Six. So they should have just left their greed over there and not invaded our territory with their greed. So VR has not grown enough and hasn't hit the mainstream yet for them to treat us like we're mainstream people. Jay Wags, let me see here. We'll go with Great Tantrum. For Sony not showing the system and games for the PS5 yet shows their confidence against the Xbox Series X. I never thought for 1 minute that they would actually show the console. All I believed that they would do was just acknowledge the PS5 just to respond to what Xbox did at the Game Awards. I mean, they kind of had to, because even though Microsoft may not have any worthwhile exclusive for the Xbox Series X, they did gain some traction and they did gain some momentum with the revelation of that console, as well as that Hellblade 2 trailer. So to me they gained a little bit of momentum, like it or not. So I think Sony had to do something, just mention it. Which is what I expected that they would do. I figured they would mention the PS5, but I still think showing that logo was a slap in the face. Now, Jay Wags, you said a lot of people are intimidated by VR, but anyone I've had over that has experienced VR for the first time went and bought one shortly after. Shit, Jay Wags, you need to check out that. I don't think you have a Quest. But over on the PlayStation, over on Facebook, there is a Oculus Quest community that's simply called Oculus Quest. It's got over 19,000 members, and oh my God, every day you see posts about people who just got Oculus Quest, or people who they show video of them revealing the Oculus Quest to family and friends. I see stories every day of how they show the Oculus Quest to family members, and now those family members are going out to get an Oculus Quest. So VR is definitely here. It is definitely growing. And I think the Oculus Quest, even with its $400 price point, I think it is an easier sell now than the PlayStation VR, because with the PlayStation VR, you got to convince someone that if they don't catch the PlayStation VR on sale, you got to convince them to pay $350 for this headset, and then you have to convince them to pay another $300 for the PlayStation VR. For the PlayStation console. So you're looking at $650, which I still think isn't bad. But for someone who strictly wants VR and nothing else, I think the Oculus Quest is an easier sell, because it's $250 cheaper than the scenario that I just presented to you, and there's no console or PC that you have to attach to it. Just simply put it on and start playing. It's as simple as a push of a button, and the dashboard on the Oculus Home is easy to navigate. So with that being said, if you would have told me that that you were convincing people to get on board with VR a year and a half ago, I would have been highly impressed hearing that news, because it was met with resistance back then. But now VR, I think the Oculus Quest is selling at a feverish pace. So to hear these stories, even though it's not surprising, it's still good to hear. I still like these feel-good stories of people getting the Oculus Quest and seeing these stories on these forums, on the Facebook groups. Moon Snipes, you said imagine Battlefield in VR. Yes, I have said that on a number of occasions. Battlefield, Call of Duty in VR. But I felt like in order for that to happen, VR needed to go mainstream. And I felt in order for VR to go mainstream, as many people as possible in terms of companies needed to get on board with VR. And I think if Microsoft, even if it would have been a partnership with Oculus, if they would have gotten on board with VR, that would have been huge for the growth of the industry, because it would have created another revenue stream for publishers. Because the landscape right now I don't think EA is looking to get on board with VR right now. I don't think they're going to do it until the PS5 comes out because when it happens, the PS5 will have enough power that they can release their game across PC and the PlayStation at the same time, probably with minimal tweaks. The situation right now is they could probably, like, take a Madden game for instance. I think they could develop a Madden fully playable in VR that would look decent on PC, but it would probably look like absolute trash on the PlayStation because of the limited hardware. Look no further than Ace Combat 7, the difference in resolution of what you see between the flat screen and the VR missions. The flat screen part of Ace Combat 7 looks amazing, but then when you jump over VR, you go backwards a generation with the graphics because it looks like PS3 graphics. Nonetheless, it still looks good, but there had to be a compromise there. And in the case of EA, it would not be a feasible venture for them to only make a Madden playable on the PC. There needs to be multiple revenue streams. They need to be able to release this on the PlayStation VR format, and they would probably need Xbox to get on board with that. So, with that being said, if Xbox would have got on board with VR with with Scarlet or Xbox Series X, it is now called, with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, you would have had two consoles that's powerful enough that would have been within the same universe of a PC. So EA could then seriously take a look at releasing games on consoles as well as PC. Because again, if Xbox would have got on board, that would have been three major revenue streams: PC, PlayStation VR, PS5 and Xbox Series X. Three major revenue streams, and it might have been worth the venture to take a chance on it, because with those three major revenue streams, at the very least, they probably could have at least broke even and got their money back. Because I know there would be some people that would be interested in playing Madden fully playable in VR, or being able to play Battlefield fully playable in VR. But right now, no, the landscape is not feasible. Robert McLeod, you said Madden is playable on PC 2004. Oh God. Now the EA is starting to bring some of the games back to PC, like Steam, because I think Jedi Fallen Order is on Steam. I don't know if any other games are on Steam, but if Battlefield were to come to Steam, I wouldn't doubt if an independent gamer or whoever takes a crack at trying to develop a mod for one of EA's games. Same thing with Days Gone. People have tossed that idea around, and I had said it, that there's no doubt in my mind that if Days Gone would have been on PC, somebody would have done a VR mod for it by now. So I know I got way off track, but I think that's the state of VR. Is definitely, the market is growing, and I only see it getting better from here. And I guess to put a lid on this 5 million PSVR sold, again, if several factors, if Sony would have launched the PSVR sooner, if it would have came in at a price point considerably lower than the $500 price point that it launched at, more sales, if they would have put it on sale more, and more marketing. All those factors right there, and I think instead of 5 million, they would have broke 6 million. So, but I think, as far as I know, Iron Man VR is the only big PlayStation VR exclusive that I know. And I think I don't know if Sniper Elite is a PlayStation exclusive or not. So if it is, it looks like those are the two big two big hitters that we got coming for PlayStation VR this year is Iron Man VR and Sniper Elite in VR. Um, so you got those two games, and I'm hoping that Sony puts the PlayStation VR on sale at least twice more this year. Not only that, I would like to see them market Iron Man VR a little bit more, because even though Iron Man was killed off in that latest Avengers movie, he is still one of the most favorite characters in the Marvel universe, and I think this is a time to cash in on it, because look at the hype surrounding that Marvel Avengers game that I think that's Square Enix is working on right now, that Avengers game. And there's a lot of hype surrounding that game, a lot of anticipation for the game. So Marvel is hot right now, and I think Sony needs to capitalize on that by marketing Iron Man VR more. So I think Sony's marketing or lack thereof, I find it really frustrating. I think there's a lot of products that flew under the radar that Sony's come out with that were amazing, and that it was way ahead of its time, but Sony only did the bare minimum to market them. So let me backtrack on some of these comments. So it looks like you guys are having a conversation amongst yourself. Uncompetitive. I'm pre-ordering the Xbox Series X, and I did pre-order the Xbox One X Project Scorpio edition. I see no need to pick them up. I don't. In fact, I would say that if it wasn't for the VR aspect of the PS5, my chances that I buy a PS5 is 50-50. Because I do think Sony will continue to put out amazing exclusives in the coming years. I mean, we already know, everybody already assumes that Horizon Zero Dawn is coming. Another Spider-Man game. We'll probably get another Spider-Man game. We know the Guerrilla Games, in conjunction with some of the Rainbow Six team, is working on something which I think might be something amazing. So you take that out of the fold, about 90% of the reason why I'm getting the PS5 is because of the VR aspect. Microsoft is not getting on board with VR, and they do not have any compelling exclusives. Therefore, it would be a complete waste of money for me to buy the Xbox Series X, because it's going to take more than Hellblade to swing me in that direction, especially when I'm like 95% done with flat screen games. The only flat screen games that are on my radar this year would be Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us 2. You said, Chaz, I hope Bloodborne 2 is in the works. Huge From Software fan here. I played Bloodborne for about 5 minutes. I know it's a good game, but by the time they made it free on PlayStation Plus, I had already made the full-blown jump to VR, and that, for flat screen games, probably signaled the beginning of the end for me. Robert McLeod, trust me, Yogurt, I ain't touched that 6 damn thing. It's just what too big I have no place to put it. So I'm a little bit lost in that conversation, so I'll let you guys continue with the conversation. Shas, you said, I'm buying PS5 ASAP. With backwards compatibility coming to PSVR Generation 1 is even a great thing to me. And that's one of the things I'm seriously curious about is will the visuals, will the resolution be a little bit cleaner in the background once we get more powerful hardware, which I would like to think so, because a couple of people have told me that they have hooked their PlayStation VR headset up to PCs and they were getting pretty clear visuals. So with that being said, I'd like to think that the PSVR, the PlayStation 5 is going to give us better visuals on the current PSVR headset. So we'll see how that goes. Also, I hope the drifting issue will be resolved once the PS5 comes out as well. Great tantrum. Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Dash Racing, After the Fall, Solaris, etc. A lot to look forward to for PSVR. You know what? I'm not exactly sure that Solaris is coming to PlayStation VR. When I saw the advertisement for Solaris, the big thing that really stood out to me, not so much the advertisement, but I think Reddit or Twitter forums or something like that, where First Contact Entertainment stressed that Solaris will have dedicated servers. So they felt the need to point that out to everybody. I think they did that to make sure that that wouldn't be one of the reasons that people would steer away from this game, because host migration is a problem with Firewall. It's one of the most frustrating parts about Firewall is that there's no host migration. They don't necessarily have to have, in my opinion, dedicated servers, even though that would make it run better, but they definitely need host migration, because every time the host leaves, it shuts the entire room down and you got to find another room. And if you hooked up with a team where you guys were slaughtering everybody, it's like it's frustrating that you got to go find another team. Let me see. What else we got? I have PC now, so I'm good with PS5. I think the biggest reason to get a PS5 is that I think with more powerful hardware, I think Sony is going to be coming out with better experiences, because they said it themselves. That came straight out of their mouths, that they're going to make bigger and better PlayStation VR experiences. So I think we're going to get, I don't think they're going to come out as often, but I think we're going to get higher quality, higher budget exclusives from them. So that is my biggest reason for getting a PlayStation VR. A PS5. And then to add and to answer your question, Dan Hardstaff, I'm hoping for a full GT Sport VR patch for PS5. I don't think we're gonna get a patch. I think we're just gonna get an entire new game, because I think the current situation with GT Sport, if you're referring to the VR multiplayer, I'm led to believe that there would be a serious compromise if they did it. I'm beginning to wonder if you would have a situation like the Drive Club scenario, where you have a tremendous amount of blur to the point where it's damn near unplayable because you can't hardly see shit in the background. I think if they were to do a PS5 patch, it would split the user base. Those who have a PS5 would probably be able to play the VR multiplayer. Those who don't won't. So I think because of that, I think they're going to leave GT Sports where it's at. And I think they're supposed to be working on a new GT game, which I think is rumored that it can upscale to, I think it can checkerboard to 8K or something like that. Which, we don't, how many people are going to have an 8K TV? What I'm assuming is that we're going to get the VR multiplayer when the next GT comes out, GT7, whatever it is that it's called. I think it's a given that we're going to get it, because you're going to have hardware powerful enough to make that happen, to give us a VR multiplayer. And I think that's going to blow the doors wide open for the possibility of sim racing in VR, because I would absolutely love to see these FIA tournaments that Sony has at the end of the year, where you have some of the best racers in the world, like Igor Fraga and Coque Lopez, some of the best racers in the world on GT Sport. I would love for them to mesh that tournament where you can choose what you think is your strength, whether you want to play it flat screen or play it into this tournament in VR. I think that could possibly blow the doors wide open, and I think a VR multiplayer for the next iteration of the GT series would be huge for that. And I've said that before in multiple podcasts, that if GT Sport had a VR multiplayer and if we had more first-person shooter games in VR, I'm not entirely sure that I would have bought a PC. So the lack thereof of racing sim VR multiplayer, the lack thereof, as well as the lack thereof of first-person shooters in VR on the PlayStation VR format, is one of the contributing factors of me getting a PC. So, Dan Hardstaff, I still think that the VR portion of GT Sport is still amazing, even if it's just time trials and one-on-one against the PC. The one thing I wish they would do, which they should have done a long time ago, is send. Okay, we get it. The hardware isn't capable of you racing against a full grid. Which you can race against a full grid in Project Cars 2. I also believe you can do VR multiplayer in Project Cars 2 on PC. As far as GT Sport goes, they should have given us a patch a long time ago where you can set the level of the AI in a race. You can do that on Project Cars. You can set the aggressiveness of the racing grid. You can turn it low. You can turn it down low enough that you can beat them, or you can turn it down high enough where you can't beat them. So in that aspect, a patch should have came out a long time ago for the AI. And when you race against AI in VR, I think that would have eased some of the frustration of a VR multiplayer not being there. And I would have done a lot more GT Sports streams if they would have made the AI more competitive, because the AI, as far as I'm concerned, is like basically stuck on stupid. A 3-year-old can beat the AI on GT Sport in VR. So why they haven't given us an update, I have no idea. Robert McLeod, I've heard that the PSVR on PC does work. I think Impatient Fire is one of the people who has tried it, and he said that the resolution, that the picture is clear and it does run good. So that's cool. I think you have to use a app called Revive. But what else we got here? Cold Yogurt. Yes, if Hellblade can be turned VR, any game can. And yes, I mean, look what we got from independent people already. I've talked about that before. We've got GTA 5 fully playable in VR. I don't know about the online portion of it, but it is fully playable in VR. We've got Alien Isolation fully playable in VR. We've got, I think we got Doom 3 fully playable in VR. Through the Gary's mod, we've got Half-Life 2 fully playable in VR. We've got a person who goes by the name of Nibre, who did the Alien Isolation VR mod, is supposed to be working on Halo Reach in VR. I've never really played Halo Reach. I think I've had it before, but I never really played it. But this VR mod that he's supposed to be working on, you are also supposed to be able to use the touch controllers and not being restricted to an Xbox controller. That's all the more reason for me to try Halo Reach in VR once this mod is done. So I'll probably give it a try. You said Nerfenstein? Is that his name? Oh, Nerfenstein, aka Girly Gaming, Girly Gamer. Hi, Link, chat gang. What is up, Nerfenstein? How are you? Just nipping out for coffee. Back soon. Okay. And Dan Harstaff, just done Doom 3 in VR. It's amazing. I'll get around to all that stuff. Not only that, I think there's a mod out there. Paradise Decay did it. Paradise Decay did a video today where you can do the X-Wing, an X-Wing mission where you're part of an X-Wing squadron that's on its way to destroy the Death Star. There's a VR mod for that. So, like I said, it's because of that kind of stuff. This is what I wanted to see happen a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, when there was not, especially on PlayStation VR, and I hadn't gotten the PC yet. I said it again. There was a serious lack of first-person shooter games, and there was a serious lack of sim racers on the PlayStation VR. So what I wanted to see happen is what Bethesda was doing, was taking last-gen games and giving them VR support with Skyrim VR, with Doom VR. I wanted to see that happen. Excuse me. And that was another thing that I thought VR needed to go mainstream in order for that to happen. I thought that if VR would go mainstream, then some of these big publishers like Activision, EA, would go into their vault and pull out some of their old games and give VR support to them. But with these independent people doing them now, hell, we don't need them. So But if they get on board, that's even better. But VR is coming far enough along and it's growing enough that I know EA and Activision is watching the VR landscape because they have put out experiences for VR because with the on the original Battlefront you had the X-wing mission in VR, which I thought was great, which was pretty cool, and with Activision you had the Jackal mission, which was part of I believe Call of Duty, I think Infinite Warfare, something like that. So yes, they have dipped in VR. D Truth, you said Blood in VR would be cool, but at the end of the day, I think we're far enough into VR right now, and the interest is high enough in VR, D Truth, that if the game is on PC, it can be done in VR because somebody can do it. It's just a matter if an independent person thinks, would be interested enough in doing that. So yes, we are at that point now that I don't think we no longer have to beg for shit, because 2 years ago that's what we were doing with VR. We were begging for shit. We don't have to beg for nothing anymore. We got everything. We got a lot of shit. Now we're in a situation where developers have to pitch their game to us instead of us begging them to give us something. So, Impatient Fire, what is good? Say, gotta run, guys. Take care. Link in the chat. Hey, chats, thanks for popping by. I really appreciate it. It is working its way towards 10 o'clock. I do want to get some gaming in, whether I choose to stream something or not. Right now, I want to go play some Dead and Buried or some table tennis VR. I did play some Spark. I did do that stream earlier, and man, I forgot how fun that game was, and I forgot what a workout that game is. That game is a tremendous workout. Now you have to be careful about how hard you try to throw that ball, because you can throw your shoulder out trying to like really zing that ball in. But that game is really a lot of fun, and I talked about this before earlier today when I was actually doing that Spark stream. That it's actually a good game, but my mind was in a different place because I was at that point where, okay, Spark is okay, but come on, bring us these first-person shooters, give us more racing games. So it was like a ton of games was like flying right by me on the PlayStation VR about a year and a half ago, and I was just letting them go right by because I was like, come on, get to these first-person shooters, give us more sim racers. Impatient Fire, 106 million PS4 sold is also small when you consider there are over 7 billion humans on the planet. The ratio argument is silly. The Xbox bet not dare, present that scenario to people with the situation that they're sitting in. Because they actually, in my opinion, I felt like they tried to attack the VR community before. By saying that the 4.2 million VR headsets that Sony was sitting on a while back was less than impressive when they've got about 100 million headsets out there. They tried that, in my opinion, I felt like that was a direct attack on the VR community as well as the Sony community itself. But, again, you have to factor in the price of the headset when it first launched, $500. The fact of when it launched in 2016 versus the console launching in 2013. And to throw that back at them, how successful would an Xbox headset be if they were to have their own headset? When, they struggled to get the 40 million Xboxes sold. So how many headsets would they have sold at this point? So if they try to make any argument, whatever, get on out of here. You said Cold Yogurt, what about PC VR? About 5 million? I have no idea. All I can say is that I believe it's selling because earlier this year I made a tweet that I had on an article that I had saw that on the Steam platform, Oculus headsets account for over 51% of VR headsets being used on the Steam platform. So they are selling. If Oculus has sold over 5 billion headsets, I would be led to believe that it is all their headsets combined. The Rift S, the Rift the Rift CV1, the I think the Quest, maybe even the Go. You know, you might even have to include that in there. Um, but I think 5 years from now, I think we're going to have a situation where multiple companies are going to be boasting that they sold over 5 million headsets, because I think that's the how much VR is growing. You said this holiday season was huge for VR sales. I think for VR sales, I think this past holiday season might have been one of the best that we ever seen. I mean, look at this chaotic situation with the Oculus Quest being pushed back to late February. You said 5 million is a success compared to Xbox VR. Oh wait, I see you, Robert McLeod. There you go. Throw that low blow on Microsoft. So, I think that's all I got. Dan Hardstaff, would it be interesting to hear the Quest numbers? I don't think they're going to give them to us, because even though the Quest is selling like hotcakes, I think the shortages of the Quest have given me less than impressive numbers, because Oculus has not given us numbers on the Quest. The only thing they tell us is that it's sold out. That's the only thing they can really tell us. I think I had read an article that, a couple of months ago, it was rumored that they were sitting on about 180,000 units sold of the Oculus Quest. At this point by now, I think I have no doubt in my mind, if they have not already reached that number, that if it weren't for the shortages of the Oculus Quest, they easily would have hit 500,000 units sold by now. And I said it before earlier, I said it yesterday, and I'll say it one more time. Oculus better get their head out of their ass and find a way to make supply meet demand, because they're dominating the standalone VR landscape right now. I think they're dominating the industry as a whole right now, but the storm is coming, because there are going to be more standalone headsets on the way to compete with the Quest. So this shit is going to, I think for Oculus, it could turn into a jungle 2 years from now. The biggest thing that's going to give them an edge over the other standalone headset is their library, because Oculus does have great exclusives. So, Cold Yogurt, you think sales are at about 400,000? I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to meet demand. If they weren't able to meet demand with all these shortages that we've been seeing, how many times have we seen this? Even when Oculus reached a point where they were they were struggling to keep up with demand, but they were kind of keeping up with demand, you would see a situation where you would walk into a Walmart or a Best Buy, and you would see two Oculus Quests in the display case, 128 gig, 164 gig. You come back the next day, that 64 gig is gone, but that 128 gig is still there. And the only reason why it eventually got sold, in my opinion, is because somebody wanted a Quest bad enough that they were willing to pay the $100 to get the 128 gig, even though they felt they didn't need that much memory, when they were actually wanting the 64 gig. But those things are flying off the shelves. Those 64 gig Quest, they just can't keep those things on the shelf. With that being said, with that factoring in, if they haven't reached 400,000, that's the biggest reason why, is because they couldn't keep up with demand. But I sincerely hope that Oculus has hit 500,000 headsets sold. I think if they would have hit it, they would have gave us that number by now, but they haven't. I think this drought, this holiday drought for the Oculus Quest, has probably showed them that there is great demand for the headset. So I would like to hope that they are getting their asses in gear to try to stockpile these headsets so that we don't have this situation happen again. With that being said, I'd like to make a prediction that I think they will hit 500,000 headsets by midsummer. I'd like to think that I'd like to go out on the limb and make a guess that they will hit 500,000 headsets by June or July. You said cold yogurt. It's not funny, dude. They're stopping VR growth. Yeah, and they're missing out on money. They're missing out on money with this shortage. They are missing out on money. And not only that, I think when they offered all 3 episodes of Vader Immortal on the Oculus Quest for Black Friday, I think that was a driving force of them selling some units. And I think Oculus even moved a few Rift S units when they knocked the price down to $350 for Black Friday, in which, based on some of the Twitter posts that I've been seeing, some of the Discord posts that I've been seeing, and even in my own comment section, people have been saying that the Rift S is sold out, that they've been trying to get one, and they can't get their hands on one. Yes, the Valve... I didn't know that the Valve Index was sold out until March, Cold Yogurt, but I did know that the Valve Index was sold out until February. So that's not surprising in the sense that Half-Life Alyx is around the corner, but it is surprising in the sense that this is a $1,000 headset. So in that aspect, yes, that is a little bit surprising. So... Robert McLeod, when there is no longer a reason to buy an Xbox, no what version of Xbox they come out with, Xbox is dead. Yeah. And a great tantrum. You said maybe Microsoft didn't like the sales of their Windows mixed reality system. They didn't have, that, to me, that's Microsoft's own fault, because I don't think Microsoft had their own mixed reality headset. They designed the headset and licensed them out to everybody. And that's why I believe you had the Samsung Odyssey, which was built on the Microsoft design. And I wouldn't be surprised if the HP Reverb was built on the Microsoft mixed reality headset design. And then I heard that the Microsoft mixed reality store was barren as fuck. So, so yeah, I think content as well as suspect tracking probably played a huge factor in these mixed reality headsets not selling near as well as virtual reality headsets. So, but that's Microsoft for you. They build the hardware but don't give you games to support to justify buying the hardware. Except for the same Gears, Forza, and Halo. I'm telling you right now, I said that before. If Microsoft would have, to me, that was the whole purpose of Microsoft partnering up with Oculus, because they had no intentions of making their own VR headset. They had no intentions of making their own VR exclusives. They were simply going to just open the door, let Oculus come in and set up camp, and let Oculus bring the Oculus Rift headset as well as their library over to the Xbox platform. And if they would have followed through with that partnership, I think Splinter Cell in VR, I think would have did decent numbers on the Xbox platform. Code Yogurt, right. Oculus is pushing VR heavily, and even Phil said indirectly, if you want VR, go to Oculus and PlayStation. They did say that. Top Dog, what is up? They may be running into production issues. They do sell these headsets worldwide. I don't know if you're talking about the Oculus Quest or if you've referring to the mixed reality situation. And Robert McLeod, if anyone believes one single word Microsoft says, I have a bitch to sell you. Yeah, pretty much. Truth be told, I'm not interested in anything Microsoft has to say unless they say they're going to get on board with VR. And as far as that goes, I don't have a lot of interest in anything Sony has to say unless it's VR related. Impatient Fire, Microsoft is hoping Game Pass and services is where they make their money. They are pretty much slowly abandoning their Xbox. But a lot of Xbox people are upset with Microsoft for their focus on the VR landscape, that they are giving VR a more and more support. So I feel like the Xbox Series X, the design of the Xbox Series X was a deliberate move to make people feel like they have their own exclusive PC. That I have my own, they may not refer to it as an Xbox console. They may refer to it as an Xbox PC. Like I said, it makes them feel all warm and fuzzy inside that they have their own exclusive Xbox PC. I think that move right there, because the power narrative is still prevalent with the Xbox community. They want so bad to act like the PlayStation Pro is small potatoes, even though the games look better on the PlayStation Pro, and they try to lump themselves in the same category with PC. When, in my opinion, a lot of these games don't compare to PC. But I think with the Xbox Series X, not only does it make them feel like they've been lumped into the same universe as PC, it makes them feel like they're part of an elite club. Like, we have an Xbox PC. We don't have a console. We have an Xbox PC. And Cold Yogurt, you said while Sony gamers and Xbox gamers fight over T-flop, VR is going around them in circles. Absolutely. And Great Tantrum Phil Spencer said they are only delivering what the gamers want. He said gamers are not asking for VR. Oh God. Gamers are not asking for VR, huh? Why is it that the developers of the Microsoft Flight Simulator, about a week after Phil Spencer said that VR is not coming to the Xbox platform, the developers of the Microsoft Flight Simulator came out and publicly said that VR is high on the priority list to bring VR support to Microsoft Flight Simulator. That would be the only thing that would interest me in that game. The game looks amazing, and I read an article where some people where they tried it out. I think it might have been an IGN article where they tried it out, and they said the map on that game is amazingly accurate. And they said they even flew over their own apartments in that game, and they recognized their own apartments in that Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I would be definitely interested in that game if it would have come to VR, and especially if it would have flight stick support with the Hodis flight stick. So you said Xbox gamers really want to be low key PC gamers, impatient fire. Exactly, and I think that's one of the big reasons they made that deliberate design of the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X. Why they made it look like a PC. I think it was a deliberate move, making Xbox gamers feel like they have their own exclusive PC. Might be enough to keep them from crying that, when are we going to get exclusives? When are we going to get compelling exclusives? And God forbid if the rumors turn out to be true that the Series X is 12 teraflops and the PS5 is 9 teraflops. Their heads are going to be extra up in the clouds. They might go thumbing their nose up at the PC community and think they can take them on. So, Ascended Super Saiyan, please forgive me if I butcher your name. Xbox Series X is revolutionary. I don't know if it's revolutionary, but as much as I do not care for Microsoft, I do hope that they are a little bit more competitive this generation, so it'll keep Sony on their toes, and they won't get complacent and start delivering trash. So, hey, Cold Yogurt, if it was not for that Xbox logo and maybe that disc slot being in the front of it, that Xbox Series X looks freakishly like a PC. So we are working our way till 10 o'clock. I usually go to bed around midnight, so I get ready for work tomorrow. I got to go back to work tomorrow, and I want to get some VR gaming in before this night is over. I don't know what I feel like doing. I really don't know what I feel like playing right now. I also need to eat because it's been a few hours since I ate. So I'm definitely gonna play something in VR. That is my passion. That is my therapy. So I'm definitely gonna do that. The reason why I do not believe PS5 is 9.2 teraflops is because hardware-based ray tracing capability. I think is a bit more than that. Uh, I really don't care about this teraflop stuff. I've said it before. The only thing that I care about is that the PS5 has enough power to run VR. That's all I care about. If it was 7 teraflops, I wouldn't care as long as it's got enough power to run VR. So, but yeah, I'm gonna get ready to boogie on out of here, people. I definitely enjoyed it. You guys definitely. But this VR roundtable. This is the VR roundtable. All right. You guys definitely kept this podcast going because talking about PSVR, eclipsing 5 million headsets sold, and me stating why it should have happened sooner and why they should have more than 5 million units sold. Me explaining all that only took 15 or 20 minutes. So you guys are the one that kept this podcast going, and this is why I enjoy doing this. I enjoy interacting with all of you guys. Dan Hardstaff, higher spec consoles are evolutionary, but VR is revolutionary for gaming. Thank you, Impatient Fire said, great show. Robert McLeod, if you are Microsoft and you never deliver on the games, Xbox will always be trash no matter what version you bring out. And Ascended, peace from the streets. And I don't drink, but hey, and my cup is empty, but hey, cheers. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys on the next podcast. I'm going to boogie on out of here. And I'm going to put on a VR headset. I just don't know whether it's going to be PlayStation VR or Quest. But I will say that if I do decide to play something on the PlayStation VR, I will stream it. So other than that, no promises. With that being said, take it easy, Tantrum and Uncompetitive. We'll see you later. Thanks for dropping in. I really appreciate it. Dan Hardstaff, thanks for popping in. Thanks for the sub. I really appreciate it. With that being said, I'm going to boogie on out of here. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later. Deuces.